This is a story America never thought it would hear. Charlie Kirk has been assassinated, and within hours President Donald Trump delivered a rare emergency Oval Office address that could reshape the nation's political future, a shocking moment that has sent waves of grief, outrage, and disbelief across the United States and beyond. The attack unfolded in a crowded auditorium at Utah Valley University, where Kirk, the outspoken founder of Turning Point USA and one of the most recognizable conservative activists of his generation, was delivering what was expected to be a routine campus speech, when shots suddenly rang out, plunging the audience into chaos as terrified students ducked under chairs, scrambled for exits, and screamed for safety while security officers rushed forward to tackle the gunman, who was taken into custody on the spot, but whose identity, motives, and affiliations remain under urgent federal investigation. Law enforcement sources confirm that teams from the FBI, Secret Service, and Department of Homeland Security are now working around the clock to analyze digital footprints, communications, and possible connections to extremist networks, as the nation confronts yet another act of political bloodshed that raises chilling questions about security, radicalization, and the survival of open debate in America. In his Oval Office statement, broadcast live across every major network, President Trump spoke with gravity rarely seen, describing Kirk as a patriot, a fighter, and a mentor to millions of young Americans, calling the assassination not just a murder of one man, but an attack on the values of democracy itself, and vowing that justice will be swift, uncompromising, and absolute, with federal agencies empowered to pursue not only the gunman, but anyone who incited, encouraged, or enabled his violence, warning that political hatred has crossed a deadly line that cannot be ignored. Trump's remarks were at once somber and defiant, urging Americans not to let grief turn to revenge, but to honor Kirk's memory by recommitting to unity, civility, and the defense of free speech, while also making clear that those who fan the flames of violence will be held accountable, a statement that resonated deeply with some, but also drew sharp debate as the country's divisions once again spilled into the open. Across Washington, Republican lawmakers praised Trump's address and hailed Kirk as a martyr for conservative values, warning that silencing voices with violence threatens the very foundation of the republic, while Democratic leaders condemned the assassination in equally strong terms, offering condolences to Kirk's family and supporters, but urging caution against turning tragedy into political warfare, with several voices calling for bipartisan dialogue to address what they described as a growing national emergency of political violence. Beyond Capitol Hill, the reaction has been swift and emotional, with vigils springing up on college campuses, in church halls, and on city streets, where thousands have gathered to light candles, sing hymns, and share memories of Kirk's speeches and activism, while social media platforms erupted in a storm of grief, tributes, arguments, and reflection as hashtags like #CharlieKirk, #TrumpStatement, and #NationalTragedy trended worldwide, pulling millions into a conversation about what Kirk's life and death symbolize in an America torn by polarization. Analysts note that Charlie Kirk had spent more than a decade building Turning Point USA into a powerful platform for conservative youth, hosting massive student conferences, cultivating media influence, and becoming a lightning rod for criticism, yet also a hero to those who saw him as a fearless defender of free markets, individual liberty, and traditional values. And now his assassination raises unsettling questions about whether the cost of public activism in today's climate has become fatally high. Eyewitnesses described the shooting as sudden and surreal, with one student saying the auditorium went from laughter to terror in an instant, another recalling the sound of chairs crashing as hundreds rushed for safety, and many now grappling with trauma after witnessing violence unfold before their eyes in what should have been an environment of dialogue and debate. Security experts warn this attack will spark a nationwide reassessment of protection for public figures, especially those engaging with large crowds on campuses, at rallies, and in town halls, with universities already facing pressure to heighten safety protocols, even as critics worry that such measures could chill open engagement and further isolate political speakers from the public. Commentators have drawn parallels to other moments in American history when political violence shook the nation, from the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy in 1968 to the shooting of Representative Gabby Giffords in 2011 and the near-fatal attack on Congressman Steve Scalise in 2017, each moment a grim reminder that the clash of ideas, when poisoned by hatred, can spill into bloodshed, and each time, the country has been forced to confront whether it can preserve democracy without succumbing to violence. President Trump, in his address, acknowledged this painful legacy, urging Americans not to allow Kirk's death to deepen divides, but to use it as a rallying cry for civility, dialogue, and a recommitment to principles of free expression, declaring firmly that while Charlie Kirk's voice was silenced, his ideas and his mission would endure long after this moment of mourning. Across the nation, tributes continue to pour in, from young activists who credit Kirk with inspiring their first steps into politics, to commentators who, even while disagreeing with his views, recognize his influence and impact on the national conversation. And religious leaders of all faiths have joined in calling for prayer, healing, and reflection in this hour of sorrow. Yet even as America grieves, the investigation moves forward, with officials warning that the coming days may reveal disturbing details about the shooter's ideology, possible networks, and the environment that allowed such hatred to fester unchecked. And already debates have reignited over the role of social media, the responsibilities of political leaders, and the broader question of whether American democracy can withstand the storm of polarization without. Tearing itself apart, tonight, as the world watches, the United States stands at a crossroads, mourning the loss of prominent activists, absorbing the president's powerful warning, and confronting the sobering truth that the survival of open debate, free speech, and democratic life depends on the choices made in the wake of this tragedy, choices that will define whether Charlie Kirk's assassination becomes merely another chapter of violence or a turning point toward unity, civility, and renewal in a nation tested once again by grief, division, and history.